We done found our groove. You can come get with it too. It's the crew.
Yo, what's poppin', Crew Nation? You already know who it is, what it is, and what we do, baby. It is your boy Jay, and today it looks like that we have the conclusion to the Love and Christian Hip Hop episode between Christian rap group Indie Tribe and nobigdyl's former management company BYOD. Now look, there's a lot of information swirling around this. Y'all can go and watch the videos. We've been talking about this for the past couple weeks. Now I told you guys, I said pretty soon Erinn Knight is going to be talking because there's no way that she can allow this to continue to go. And she was recently on a podcast, I believe it was called Vibing with Vito podcast, where she was discussing women within the music industry and kind of what's going on within that space for her. Now, I told you guys on the last video that we know how women are treated within the industry, and I didn't want to, kind of pile on because of some of the things that John Keith said was, again, a bit eyebrow raising when it came to Erinn Knight and the BYOD camp. And so that's what she was kind of speaking towards. And in connection with some other issues that she has going on, she decided to spill, no pun intended, make sure y'all follow us on Spill at the Crew HHC, shameless plug, but she decided to spill the tea in regards to what exactly happened. Now, I told you guys we only had about 50% of the story because Erinn Knight hadn't spoke out, but now it looks like we probably have about 90% of this story. And the only reason why I say this is because they definitely had moments where they matched, their stories matched, but there were certain areas where things differ. Really quickly, guys, before we get into that, I want to tell you all about Christian artist Z and his new record, Protect. He's letting y'all know what y'all need to protect. Now, generally, I wouldn't vibe with a record like this. However, hey, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man, the record kind of bang. So y'all go and check that out. It's only 69 cents right now.
Protect the second, it's time to leave us alone. I keep the fourth time, I hate it, Shabbat Shalom. Beans to Ukraine, but not for our home. Nothing for the vets, so you know you did wrong.
Also, guys, I'm going to continue to tell y'all because I don't want y'all to miss out. Godflow Hip Hop and Hope Fest is going down in Minneapolis, Minnesota, featuring people like Black China and Portia Love. So y'all know that thing about to be crazy. The Holy Girls is popping out. Sis and Lil Bro gonna be headlining as well. So y'all go to godflowfest.com and get y'all tickets. So look, I'm not even gonna take a lot of y'all time because I've spent hours breaking this down for y'all. I love y'all. I'm happy that y'all come and support us. But look, this is a lot and I don't want to rehash things that I've already been over. If y'all want to watch kind of how we got to this point, then you can. But let's just jump to the part of what did we find out or kind of what things matched, okay? So John Keith went on Ruslan's podcast or Ruslan's stream, and he was saying that he and Indie Tribe approached BYOD after 2 years of the festival, and they brought 24 racks and wanted to be bigger partners. They wanted to be bigger contributors. They wanted to show that they weren't just running behind the name of BOD, that they actually were contributing a lot more as well. And according to him, BYOD NEM was like, okay, but it's going to be a bit more than that. We are going to need about 50 racks. And apparently it was supposed to be 75, but they gave them a discount or let them know that they could have it for about 50 G's. And according to John Keith, it didn't sit well with them and Indie Tribe, and so they had to leave. Okay? Erinn Knight comes out, and what matches in the story? So she, in fact, did say that they offered to give it to them for $50,000. Now, I know what you're thinking about. $50,000. A festival for $50,000 is not worth it. But according to Erinn Knight, they did a projection based off of what they had to run through with their funds and kind of what the festival will be worth in about 10 years, right?
So third year, the artists are like, we want to talk ownership. I'm like, bet, we're already paying you 15% of this just to put your name as the headliners. But if you want to own your 15%, we spent $80,000 across the next 2 years. Let's do an actual company valuation. So in 10 years, this is how much it'll be worth. This is how much you owe us for 15%. In lieu of your services for the first 2 years, we'll give you a $25,000 discount, and we'll give you 8 months to pay the amount that we want you to pay. They said I was trying to steal it from them. I said, Houseway, this isn't yours.
There was no renegotiating on the part of BYOD, but it seems that Indie Tribe, according to the story, tried to negotiate a bigger partnership. Now, I told you all that they were owning 15% of the festival, or they thought so. However, according to Erinn Knight, she dispels this misnomer by saying, no. It wasn't the fact that they owned 15% of this festival. We just gave them a 15% split of the revenue, the money that came in from the festival. We just gave them a 15% split out of that because we are the ones that put the money up with these places that we are going. The people that we are dealing with are all built off the relationships of BYOD. You don't get to have it in these locations and have people clamoring after you within this city without BYOD's movement behind the scene, the marketing, the different things like that. Apparently, what Indie Tribe had to do was just put their name on it, and at that point, BYOD takes care of the entire thing. Now, Indie Tribe would tell you something a little bit different in the sense of they built, the clout factor was all them. And I believe that to be a little bit true in the sense of when we're talking about just the Christian rap space, not anything outside of it. Within the Christian rap space, we know that Indie Tribe is one of the biggest artists, one of the biggest groups within the space. So a lot of their following and a lot of the hype around the festival was built on the hype or the clout that they already had. Now, I will say this, that's not enough, right? I'm gonna just call it what it is. It's not enough. You got to know how to maneuver. You got to know how to move. You got to know how to make these things work. And that is where BYOD came in. Now, let's get to this 15%. According to Erinn Knight, the 15% revenue, all they did was a manager reversal, right? I told you guys in the last video that generally a management within the industry, an agent or a manager would generally get about 10% of that. And I believe that might have been what BYOD was getting from when they was running around with No Big Deal. However, because of how much they had to do with the festival and different things like that, they just flipped the percentages and was like, hey, we'll give y'all 15%. Okay, cool. But in their mind, according to John Keefe, they left that thinking that they actually owed 15%.
In the second year was, I think we made a little bit of money, and Indie Tribe split a 15% cut, something like that. Matter of fact, all the work and money you've done is actually equal to negative $50,000. So even to have 15% of this, you're gonna need to give us $50,000. And we're like, okay, this is way off.
Wait, was the percentage initially 15 and they were trying to sell you another 15?
No.
What was the initial percentage you guys owned?
Zero. That's what they're saying.
Now, here's the kicker. According to Erinn Knight, No Big Deal, who is the kind of the spearhead of this entire group. We know that he is the bigger artist. He is the name. This is the second iteration of Indie Tribe. He's been a part of both. He's been very instrumental of getting both together. Mowgli the Iceberg as well. But according to him, he understood that they were going to do everything for the festival and that Indie Tribe was going to get a 15% cut of the profit or whatever that was. According to John Keefe, there was no profit on the first year, but they were going to get 15%. According to Erinn Knight, he knew that. He knows what's up.
This artist, the lead artist his business is locked. Like he had a plan to get to retire his wife so that she could come work in the business. It was a 3-year plan. He executed it. You know what I'm saying? Like he has a merch company. Like this man, he knows business. That's the thing. When he confirmed with us, hey, so y'all are going to pay for everything and we get 15% after everything on the back end. Yeah, for sure. It's greed.
When they were approached with getting it, they were okay. They were fine with allowing Indie Tribe, according to Erinn Knight, they were fine with allowing Indie Tribe to buy, quote unquote, a 15% stake within the company or within the festival. So, with John Keefe saying that, hey, we thought we had 15, but we didn't have, that's kind of the same thing that Erinn Knight is saying. Hey, we broke them off 15% of what we brought in, yet they didn't own anything. Like, we own everything. And according to John Keefe, that's exactly what they said.
We're talking all that kind of stuff, and basically what ended up being said was, so first of all, I'm offended that you even think you own 50% of this.
Wow.
Indie Tribe can't throw festivals without us. But if we wanted to do a festival next year without you, we could do it. We could sell just as many tickets, if not more. That's what was said. And so it's like, oh, whoa. So not only do you think that we bring nothing to the table, you also think for some reason, in some weird way, we're holding you back somehow?
They own everything. There's nothing that Indie Tribe can do about it. And Erinn Knight is essentially saying the exact same thing. So that is exactly where we fall on this. That story matches up a lot. Now, he also said that they said it should have been $75,000. According to Erinn Knight, they spent over $80,000 for this over the course of 2 years and dealt with about 1,800 people. So they projected it out to 10 years, and this is what it would cost. And at that point, that's how they came up with the $75,000 number. Now, Indie Tribe being a small Christian hip hop group, I don't think that they was ready for that. But they was able to get 24 racks. So within a couple more years, they would have been able to have it. And according to Erinn Knight, they gave them 8 months to try and pay this off. When the information came from John Keith, he states that, or he didn't say that they had a time frame at all. He just said that they wanted $75,000, and they was like, "Oh, okay, oh, all right, yeah, we're this conversation is done." Like that's kind of what John Keith made it seem. But as I stated, now we actually have most of the circle completed. Now, according to them, they claimed that they did not understand. John Keith says they had an understanding of what they had, but when they approached Erinn Knight, she says they claimed that they didn't understand kind of how they talked about it when they first ran this festival. Interesting fact, apparently No Big Deal wasn't ready to run the festival yet. They talked about it in January of 2021. Festival popped off in July of 2021, but No Big Deal, even though this was something that they communicated about, said that it was in fact too early, but they were able to make this very successful.
He told us he felt like it was too soon when I first brought it to him.
So the main thing that I want to let you all know is that yes, the $75,000 price point was in fact accurate. Yes, BYOD feels like that they own and I say feels like, but no, according to BYOD, they do own the festival. They do own the name of the festival, and so this is why they told them, look, you could throw the festival, but you got to have a different name. And that is how we landed on, and that's what led to this rebrand. So now that we have all that information out, where do you guys stand with this? Whose side are you on? As I stated, the information that we got from Erinn Knight and that we got from John Keith is pretty much the same. She did in fact let it be known that we did ask for $75,000, and we don't think we're wrong for asking for $75,000. According to our calculations, we projected this festival, a very good festival by the way, we projected this festival to do this much in revenue over the course of 10 years. And if you want to buy just a 15% stake of this festival, then you owe us A, B, C, and D. And that's just business. The issue is with this is you just have two sides arguing about this, and it seems to be that there is no paperwork involved. There are paper trails, according to John Keith. There are text messages within a group chat about kind of where they stand, who came up with the idea, kind of where this all started. Yet, this is why they're not able to take any legal action, quote unquote, because there's no real paperwork. And as Ruslan said, this is why you get those things written down, because you never want to come to this. Look, it was all good in the beginning, right? It was all good just a week ago. However, you cannot foresee these things breaking down. And so just as a precautionary measure, you want to get these things in writing. You want to make sure that your end is sold up so you don't have to endure these things. Like I said, guys, Erinn Knight was going to have to speak out because of the way that this information was coming out, because of how freely No Big Deal felt that he could speak about the issue, because of how freely John Keith felt that he could speak about the issue and talk about the private meeting that they had. She had to speak out. She didn't talk about the meeting necessarily or how it went. She just said, hey, this is how we got here. They said they wanted to do this. I had no issue with them wanting to do this. Where the lines got crossed, well, I'm telling you, looking at this and watching this and seeing this, where the lines got crossed at is them thinking they owned 15% of this festival. Like, this is where all of this breaks down at, right? Because the moment that they found out in that, and apparently No Big Deal already knew, or maybe he thought because they were getting 15%, they thought that they owned a little bit of the festival. It's ran, according to their name. It's built off of their clout. Like, so it's their festival. Maybe he did think, but according to Erinn Knight, he knew what the ticket was. He's great with business. He found a way to retire his wife, which is a dope story. I had no idea about that. But he found a way how to retire his wife. He left capital. So he knows business. It sounds like everybody was built up in the euphoria of the festival and it popping off and all the cloud and everybody, wanting to be there, and it's been successful and they're going on year 3. Like, it sounds like that once that wore off and they had sober heads, once that wore off and once they became sober, that's when they started thinking about different things. Now, look, this is what I imagine. I imagine that when they went over, I'm talking about Indie Tribe, when they went over what they were making out of what actually was brought in, they were looking at each other like, hey, like most groups. We hear this story all the time, guys. Don't act surprised. They were looking at each other like, hey, hey, we should, if we put more up and we become bigger partners, we get a bigger slice of the pie. That's nothing wrong with them thinking this way, especially with the festival bearing their name, running off of their clout. But unfortunately, in the world of business, that ain't the way you do it. Now, look. Some of y'all are probably going to be like, well, they was wrong. BYOD was wrong. And it was, hey, you say whatever you want to say. But that ain't what the paperwork said. And again, if they're the ones that are putting up all the money, as she states, 80 G's over the course of 2 years. At that point, they was just trying to they literally was trying to get all their money back. All the money they spent over those 2 years, they were trying to get that money back. So the whole reason why it's not being ran in Atlanta, according to Miss Knight, is because, those connections, those relationships were relationships built and cultivated by BYOD. Okay? So if there was a rift in their partnership before the asking of the 75K, right? Then at that point, one would be like, okay, cool. You can look, I ain't even gonna fight you about it. You can have it. But what you ain't gonna do is you're not gonna use the relationships that I built in order to keep this clout or keep it in the same vein as what we're doing. Now, granted, it's gonna pop off, right? It's gonna pop off because of who they are within the space. People are gonna love to watch them. And they've already had 2 successful years. If this was in the beginning of year 1, I don't know how this goes off. Again, No Big Deal said, hey, man, it might be just a little bit too early. But in this situation, this is the reason why it's not being held there. And they're doing it within their hometown. Hey, look, man, I can't choose a side on this one, man. I've met Erinn Knight in person, and she's not I didn't get the sense of her being what John Keith said. But on the flip side, again, I do get it from the standpoint of Indie Tribe. If they really did, see, this is the issue. This is the problem. If they truly believed this is what ties everything together, this is what will resolve the issue or clears up all of the muck in the middle, right? If they truly believed that they owned 15% of the festival, that is the issue. That is where the clarification needs to be made. The name and that all falls in line with that. If BYOD solely owned this festival, the logos, the marketing, the venues, the money put up, if they truly own this festival, then there's really nothing to talk about. I get y'all want it because it's y'all's name and built off of your backs. But damn, that paperwork is ridiculous. It's funny, but it's not funny. Like, this happens all the time. And that is where this breaks down. All Erinn Knight got to do, look, I'm going to tell y'all how this was. All Erinn Knight got to do is show the text message or tweet or recorded conversation or whatever of No Big Deal saying, so y'all gonna put up all the money for the festival and y'all gonna pay us 15%. At that point, if no ownership is mentioned, because again, if that's the conversation that was had after they had already came up with it, I think that wording would have been a little bit different, right? Or what do you even ask for? What are you even asking for, right? You own 15% of the festival, right? Again, it's up to y'all, man. It's up to Crew Nation to decipher through this and kind of figure out the truth. Like I said, the truth is always somewhere in the middle. His side, her side, and the truth. And the thing about this, or the interesting thing about this is that the information for which John Keith provided was not far off from what Erinn Knight said. It wasn't. Again, the $75,000 price tag. The discount of it not being 75, but actually going for 50. Erinn Knight said they did give him a 25% off discount. And the funny thing about this was, like, she wasn't stuttering. She was straightforward with this. So she was very confident in what she was saying, as was John Keith. But I'm just pointing it out. So the $75,000 price tag was confirmed. The $50,000 price tag was confirmed. The fact that she says that they don't own it. So again, there wasn't much out of John Keith's story that wasn't corroborated by Erinn Knight. So to put all of this together, they did in fact try to buy their name back or buy their way into the festival, because they wanted to be bigger partners. According to Erinn Knight, BYOD said that they were okay with it, but after doing calculations, it's going to take a little bit more than what they had. John Keith states that, yeah, that's kind of wild. We ain't doing that. And according to Erinn Knight, it's like, okay, well, whatever. Like, she gracefully bowed out of the situation because apparently it was going to try to get legal and different things like that. And she just kind of said, hey, just take the festival, just change the name and we good. But I guess that wasn't good enough for No Big Deal because he came out with he rapped about it. It wasn't good enough for him. And so he said what he felt, and John Keith came to give his side of the story as well, man. Look, y'all tell me, put it in the comments. What do y'all believe? Because this is pretty muddy, but I mean, it's right there. Everything is right there. All of the information, everything that we have is exactly right there. And the stories don't veer off much from each other. So it is what it is. You can say who's right, who's wrong. But at the end of the day, if there is no paperwork, then at that point, it was just two people making a deal with a handshake. It is what it is, man. Y'all already know who it is, what it is, and what we do, baby. It is your boy, Jay. And it's on.
Why they even wanna play with us? It was cool till they try to take the name from us. Hey, don't you know the smoke still holy? Try to cut me out the deal, now I own it with the brody.